Hi, friends. Happy Monday. Welcome to your Monday Minute. I am here with David Henning, a counselor at Mayfield Counseling Centers, and today we're talking about singleness.
Welcome to your Monday Minute.
So, David, as we talk about singleness or singlehood, there's a lot that I have thoughts on, and I want to kind of lay out a few things for people who are watching, not just who are single themselves, but also for individuals who know people who are single, because I think all of us are kind of at fault for making this a harder season of life than it needs to be. So David, tell me a little bit about, as a single man, and in a time frame where in the timeline of societal expectations, there's a lot of pressure that you shouldn't be single, right? And there's a lot of things that people say to you when they find out you're single. Tell me a little bit about your experience from that perspective and what you've done to find healthy patterns in the midst of all those outside forces.
Right. Well, the big thing I would say is that, I think a lot of people are just uncomfortable with something they're not familiar with. A lot of people are already married, have their partner, and there's also nothing wrong with being lonely while you're single. It's just an emotion like any other. And I think people just get uncomfortable with unpleasant emotions.
Well, and it's not like we can't get lonely in a marriage or a relationship either.
Absolutely. What I have found is, the important thing is just finding things that are meaningful in your life and engaging in them. So if you're in a relationship, you're still going to want to have hobbies, invest in your career, friends, things like that. All those things are meaningful. That isn't a knock against relationships. One of the longest term indicators of happiness in life is a successful romantic relationship. So absolutely a thing you want to strive for, just there are other things. And if any one of those things is lacking, then invest in the things that you do have.
Yeah, I like this idea of like investing and almost the value of things too, because I think as a culture, we really don't honor or value singleness.
Sure.
We kind of have this view of singleness like it's just the chapter between chapters and you're supposed to get through it as fast as you can. And I think that's actually so detrimental to us as human beings because for the most part, that isn't in our control. We don't have real control to be able to say, I will be married or I will be in a relationship at this point. At least not with like somebody we want to do that with, right? But I think that we really have not done a good job of honoring that this is a really meaningful season of life. Not just that it's something you have to get through, but that there's a lot that can come out of like just being single.
And I would add on to that, if you do it right, because you can also have like in a marriage or a relationship, that may not be a good thing if it's not going well.
That's a good point.
Singlehood may not be a good thing if it's not going well. A lot of it does depend on what you're doing with those things, because there are opportunities you have when you're single that you will never have when you're in a relationship. There's much more freedom, much more time to invest in other pursuits. There's also things you'll never be able to do single, where you have someone to support you every day. It's like it's just a completely different dynamic. And as long as there isn't something, going on in your life where, that's sabotaging your chances of being in a helpful relationship, right? Then you're probably doing the singlehood thing all right.
Yeah, and I think, really taking it as an opportunity rather than like a necessary sentencing almost, right? Like
the penalty.
There's so much in that, in just being single where you are supposed to be able to focus in on yourself in a way that you don't have an opportunity to in other areas of our lives. And I think that it's such a good opportunity for you to be able to learn about yourself and to grow in your goals and figure out like your passions and your desires and your hobbies. And I think there's this almost idea that for individuals who are single, when they get to the point when they're actually like investing in hobbies and growing as a person and developing their own goals and life paths, that they've kind of given up on relationship, as if doing all those things doesn't enhance whatever relationship they might be in down the road. And so I think that's such a waste of that opportunity to view it as like, oh, if you're actually like growing as a person, you've kind of just given up on like trying. That's so not the case.
The best relationship advice I ever got was also probably just really good life advice.
Okay.
Which was that most people, well, everyone starts off dependent on their parents.
Yeah.
As they grow up, a lot of them just find another person to be dependent on. And that's called codependency. And then what you want is for someone to become an independent person.
Yeah.
But then find other people who are independent and then willingly rely on each other, right? They can be separate, they can be independent, but they can rely on each other and be interdependent and be stronger together. That being said, that requires that you be independent.
Right.
And if you are actually independent, you can do it on your own. And interdependent also means friends, community, and romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Definitely. Well, and I think too, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, you know, I remember distinct years of my life where I was agonized by just a sense of like, I'm never going to find somebody to be in a healthy relationship with. I'm never going to be married. And that was like the biggest desire that I had. And it was so painful to sit in that place of not having control over it, not being able to move forward in that, and really wanting to, you know, be husband and dad and wanting to start growing in those areas, but feeling like, oh, I can't because I don't meet the prerequisites. And the most influential part of that whole story for me was being able to identify that there was still purpose in that season, and that there was so much meaningful work for me to do, and there was so much for me to do, and being able to refocus from this like longing desire for something that felt unattainable to a direction of how I could put forth that effort.
Sure.
And that was so meaningful for me. And I'm so grateful I did, and wish that I had spent more time in that place than I did the other. I'm curious for you, David, especially in some of the work you do with clients who might be single, in your own experience, what are some of the things that in the midst of that pain of longing, we can engage in that is supportive of us in not just our relationship goals, but our goals as a person?
Sure. I mean, I think the key is to look for what is meaningful. Don't ignore, you know, the desires that you have for the future. That's great. That's what keeps us moving forward in life. So, you know, if you have some loneliness, then sure, seek out situations where that may change. But also, what's meaningful in your life already? I mean, I would say the biggest things are the projects that people take on to make the world a better place, the communities that they have, and then knowing that they can choose what opportunities to engage in and not. And all of those things give life a sense of meaning, regardless of whether you're happy or not with certain situations. And so finding those things, projects, hobbies, the career that you're engaged in, ways to give back to the community, ways to create community, whether it's you're the person hosting, whether it's you're finding hobbies, sports things to join in that are community focused. But the big thing is, while you're still looking for what you want to have, also enjoying and engaging in the things that you do have, which will serve you well no matter what happens in life.
Because there might not be this like next thing, like maybe singleness is what you want to be doing. And if you want
more common these days,
if you want to continue this conversation, David and I are going to be talking more about like how to talk to our single friends, how to support people who are single, and just like changing our paradigm about this idea from something that's been notoriously unhelpful. If you want to watch that, just follow the link below. It'll be on the Mayfield Collective. David, thank you for being on the Monday Minute.
Absolutely.
Friends, get yourselves through Friday. Enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday.